Oh, no, no. I swear he was being quiet. He wasn't being good though, so. I'm live. Hi, everyone. Hi, baby. No, you're not going to get no more food. So, I've heard about this Reddit called FatLogic, and I thought, well, I'm curious about it. It sounds interesting. It sounds like something that I would have, some things to say about what we're going to find. And I figured, why not go live as I explore it this evening? So you're all invited to join me here as I pull this up. So yeah, let's get it here. Okay, so let's see. It seems to be critical, so I'm sure it'll be an interesting mix of things that we find in here. And I'm sure it seems to be a pretty positive community. Because like I've talked about before, this is not what's happening with people getting sucked into this is not good. I mean, it's a death cult. So let's see. All right, here we have, trying to log me in there. The truth is that long-term sustainable intentional weight loss is a lie. And in reality, intentional weight loss has many risks and is more dangerous and damaging for your health and well-being than living in a fat body. Wow. This is a very common talking point with these folks, that I will say, in my last weight loss, I did a video talking about it, where I talked about intermittent fasting and how I kind of had lost the weight that I'd gained during the pandemic. I had put on about 40 pounds, and once the scales hit a certain number, I was done. I was like, no. And at this point, I've lost about between 45 and 50 and maintained it. And am very happy to have done so, because it's miserable carrying around extra weight on top of everything else I've got going on. But I did have some complications that came up with my gallbladder because I had dropped weight so quickly. And, they were talking to me, they were like, when I went to, I actually went to the emergency room because I had this like just strange feeling in one of my organs, I didn't know what was going on. And I was having feeling movement in one of them. It was disturbing to me, and it was not painful, but it was uncomfortable. So yeah, I went to the emergency room and got it checked out. And they, did some different tests and scans and took some ultrasounds and found that it was a sluggish gallbladder. So, immediately they were just saying things like, your diet may be too high in fat. And I was like, is it? I do have fat in my diet, but it's not a high fat diet by any means. I don't shy away from fat, but I don't also, I don't eat a lot of deep fried things or oily things or greasy things. And I'm pretty careful about what kind of oils I do eat. So anyway, but as I went home and, after I got the, diagnosis, went home and did my own research, I found that really rapid weight loss can bring about sluggish gallbladders. And I think it's just your body is actually processing its own fat. it's burning it up. So like I gave myself a sluggish gallbladder from consuming my own fat. Like it was my own fat that did that. So yeah, rapid weight loss can pose some problems, but I mean, apart from that, this is just more mythology that's put out here. To keep people fat and not even trying. If you absorb this message, what are you going to do? If you take this message in, are you ever going to try to lose weight? Are you ever going to try to stop eating the way you're eating? No, it's terrible. And there's people like in the grips of this because they're vulnerable and they don't want to face reality. And so and this person is a coach. This person is a coach. I mean, be careful who you listen to. This person is marketing themselves as a coach. Yikes. That's no coach worth having. Any decent coach is going to understand that it's much better for you to not be fat. It's just wild. Okay, so let's see what else we find on here. And so this is interesting. It has a description of their community and it has over 387,000 members. Wow. FatLogic is anything that deviates from the scientific facts of body weight management. This can range from fundamental misunderstandings of how biology and physics work to lengthy political diatribes about how everything is society's fault. Falling victim to FatLogic means accepting misinformation that will harm efforts to keep your body at a healthy weight or lose weight if you need to do so. Okay, so this one, it's not body positivity if you call out how fat and unhealthy a plus size person is, buddy, but it's unhealthy, so is your mindset. Okay, honey, you're not getting no more. Speaking of fat, you ain't getting made fat. You ain't getting made fat. I ain't making you fat. Stop it. Okay, but it's unhealthy. So is your mindset, and fat doesn't mean unhealthy the same way skinny doesn't mean healthy. Oh man, stop pulling down a person just because you hate fat people. You're not encouraging them to lose weight. You're just being an a-hole. Sincerely, a fat ass. Middle finger emoji. Okay. Okay. Well, that's problematic. Honey, no. What are you doing? You're causing a disturbance. Come here. Oh, you're so bad. I see this all the time. I think in these kind of communities that they equate unhealthy with somehow being a put down. Being unhealthy is not nice, but it's not a put down. And of course, they do this very... You getting up in the camera with that. They do this very, very silly kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They flip it around. So they say that just because, how skinny doesn't mean healthy or thin doesn't mean healthy, that fat doesn't mean unhealthy. And yes, you can be thin and be unhealthy, but you can't really be fat and be healthy. That's not a real thing. You can be a little overweight maybe and be healthy, but fat, like, what are we talking about here? Okay, let's talk about this. You can maybe carry around an extra 20 pounds, 25 pounds of fat. And maybe it's not gonna like be the end of the world. It's not good for you though either. Like it would be much better if you didn't, but maybe it won't make you, terribly encumbered, but it's to be fat is not healthy. And just because there are thin people that are unhealthy does not mean that being fat is healthy. Like, ugh. Ugh. Okay, what else do we have? I have to literally be anorexic to be thin. Oh my goodness. Yeah, isn't it obvious fit women can physically get more done? Usually fit women are physically stronger too. There are tons of jobs where being thin and fit makes you more valuable. I used to be overweight and it literally weighed me down. I now produce more in the same amount of time. Can't really think of jobs where being fat makes you more valuable. That's a lie, LOL. I have to literally be anorexic to be thin. I work out and diet every day and I'm still overweight. Why should I get paid less? Because people perceive being thin as being better. It's a total lie. Women need to support other women, not try to bring them down. Someone's weight shouldn't determine their salary. Oh, okay. So this is interesting because obviously, I'm sorry, if you're very fat, it's going to be a lot harder to do a lot of jobs, isn't it? There's a lot of jobs I can't do because of my physical disabilities. So, it would be absurd for me to think I could, or if I were to do them, I would be very encumbered trying to do them. It would take me a lot more time than other people. It would be a lot more physically challenging. I think when I was fat myself, I worked a very physical job and it was very hard on my body. I wish I didn't do that to myself. Honestly, I wish I had, maybe had gotten out of that job because even though there were aspects of it that were good, being like physically active, I do think it kind of wore me down in a lot of ways. And I wouldn't have been as worn down if I, hadn't been as fat. It's hard on all of your joints. It's hard on everything. Like it just puts so much more pressure on your body. Oh, we've got a viewer. Hi, Mountain Esoteric. Good to see you again. I've experienced both of those things. Don't say unhealthy. And also someone telling me their argument with someone else of overweight can be healthy. Oh dear. It's really not. Even if you're a bodybuilder or, if you're like, let's say a super like muscular dude, an athlete that has like, I don't know, a lot of the times when those people retire, they lose a good deal of weight because it is hard on the body to carry around excess weight, even if it's muscle. Like it's not good to be overweight. It just isn't. Obviously, different people have different frames that may be able to be a little bit, carry a little bit more than others. But like by and large, it's just absurd. And it's like, it's not people that are like 10, 15 pounds overweight that are on here whining about this or like making these statements. This is often people who are very, very obese. A person who's just has a little bit of extra weight aren't the people that are, on here making these ridiculous statements. Right, exactly. Like power lifters often have problems. They often have the same issues because gravity is real and it has an impact on your body over time. And regardless of what the weight, it's like if you were carrying around an extra, like a really heavy bag or something every day, it's going to eventually wear on you. If you're wearing a backpack that's like 50 pounds every day, you walking around with that every day, that's going to wear on you. Come on. Let alone hundreds of extra pounds of fat, which also just, yeah. Okay. More casual misogyny and obsessing over the thinness of other women, because why not at this point? I hate eating in the workplace because the skinny B words will take 2 bites of pizza and be like, "Oh, I'm absolutely stuffed. I couldn't possibly eat another bite. My stomach is so itty bitty, teeny tiny." And wow, are you eating again? How are you eating right now? I'm so full. I don't even know what to think about that, honestly. Like, I've had the opposite like experience in my like life where I said I wanted to be careful about not eating too many chocolates because it was like the holidays, at work, and people were bringing us candy left and right. And I ate a couple of the chocolates and I was like, okay, I need to be careful because I don't want to like, eat too many of these because I don't want to get fat again. And I've like been through very like, again, significant weight loss, within the years prior. And of course, like my coworkers were just like two women, one of whom was fat, by the way, the other one who was recovering or recovered from an eating disorder, supposedly. I have my doubts about that. But like, regardless, okay. And they both were like just giving me so much crap about the fact that I didn't want to gain weight. Like that was triggering for them both. Like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you can't deal with the reality that I don't want to gain weight again because I've been severely overweight and it sucked. And I'm sorry that, your BS is getting put onto me because I said something true. Like, it was so toxic. I mean, there's all these kind of like, terrible things with workplaces. Anyway, tummies are cute all around. Yeah, sure. But seeing a fat tum is always healing. Seeing a flat tum when I need and want and expect to see a fat tum, however, damaging and hurtful. Oh God. See, this is the thing, like the childishness is so common. A health at every size grifter clearly panicking about her income nosediving in the age of GLP-1 drugs. When I lost weight, my joints felt better, my cholesterol went down. I control my diabetes better. I felt better. I wasn't miserable. Good for you. Oh God. Yeah, I think I'll skip that one. It's very strange to interact with groups of friends that don't have a single fat person in them. I can count on a single hand the number of non-fat friends I have. Huh. I mean, I don't think that's that odd though, because like people tend to gravitate towards people that they have things in common with. So like if your only pleasures or joys in life or hobbies are going out to eat or hanging out and eating and like doing more sedentary things, you're going to attract people who are into that in your life. So, and if you're a more active person who enjoys like using your body and doing more physical activities, like you're going to want to hang out with people like that. Oh yeah, that's so true, Mountain Esoteric. I've seen that too, and it makes sense. I mean, you are who you hang out with at the end of the day. The people you spend the most time with are a reflection of you, and they will have an impact on you. So it's, you do have to be careful who you surround yourself with. Because yeah, I mean, if they're all eating like junk, or eating, you're going to pick up those habits. You're going to be more likely to go to Dunkin' Donuts or, out for fast food. You're going to, and the more you eat of that stuff, the more addictive it is. I had to, first time in like since I was a child. I had one of those little snack bags of Doritos. I was craving them for like 3 or 4 days after. That was last weekend, I think, that I had them. Just a little bag, just a little single serving bag of Doritos. And I was jonesing for them for days. I was like, because I don't generally eat stuff like that. Like, I've given up chips now, but when I would eat chips, I would usually get like, kettle chips, and it would be like rare, or maybe some tortilla chips, like, Mexican restaurant style. But I never go for the like, the extra, those extra, I don't know, salty, processed good chips that, I couldn't even believe it, how bad I was jonesing for that thing. I was like, I don't know what they put in those Doritos, but man, it's going to be another 20 years before I eat them again, because I was just shocked how my body reacted. Like, it was worse than sugar, and I love me some sugar. Sugar is more of a problem for me, honestly, but I was just like, whoa, that processed food, that ultra processed food, the fast food, that stuff is addictive. Like, it's chemically addictive. It does something to you. It makes you crave it. Chocolate logic. That's true. Yeah. Social pressures. You know what? Fat people always get, I don't want to say fat people, but like, there's often a lot of pressure to eat, more too. Like, oh, that's all you're eating? Oh, I want to get a dessert. Like, there's a lot of corporate investment to the formula. Yes, those Doritos. Stay away from the Doritos. They were trying to get me. Okay. So let's see, what else do we find in here? How to further alienate yourself from loved ones so your only support network is the cult you're falling deeper into. Oh my God, I saw something like this, that J Bay lady today. I saw something that she posted. Okay, baby, you're being annoying. Yeah. I saw something that J Bay woman posted today, where she talked about how to handle, holiday gatherings where people might mention your weight or what you're wearing being inappropriate, and how to respond. Ridiculous. Okay, sweetie heart, you gonna get off of mama? Yeah, you gonna get off of mama now, I think. You're getting too much with the claws. Come on. I love you, but you're not getting no more food. Nothing human is alien to me is offering me a coffee date, which, are you even in the current year, honey? Coffee and fruit salad and a trip to the art gallery. Really? That's it? You paying? Do you have to pay to go to the art gallery? Because I assume you're getting the ticket for that as well. I do like fruit though. Although, again, fruit has a lot of sugar too. You have to watch out with fruit, especially nowadays. I saw this article about this zoo that had to stop feeding the animals fruit because modern fruit has become too sweet. Like, they were all getting diabetes from fruit. I was like, what? But it has gotten sweeter. Oh, hell no. Hell no. No. I don't know. I don't know about that. But they asked for donations. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I remember when I went to see the National Gallery in London, they were taking donations. You didn't have to pay, but they asked for a donation. So Yeah, I don't know about the fiber content, but yeah, these monkeys had diabetes and were having like teeth issues. And it just I saw this article on Vegan Deterioration's channel because she was posting about it because there's all the raw foodists that live off of fruit. And like so many of them end up having like serious dental issues. Like Freely has like serious dental issues, and even like vegans generally as well too will develop very serious dental issues. And it's not just, but I mean, if you're a lot of it is that you're just not getting the proper nutrients. But if your diet is just like all this acidic fruit, like sugar, and you're not getting any other like any other like of the micronutrients that you need, it's a bad recipe. So anyway, back to FatLogic. But okay, no, J-Bay. So yeah, she did that video talking about, how to be passive aggressive and speaking corporate like language to your family. What is the word? Formal register. That's how it's referred. The fat phobic amusement park industry is literally killing people. Considering it has literally led to deaths, are we as a society ready to talk about the fat phobia perpetrated by the amusement park industry? Oh, Lord. A Karen in action? Yeah, I don't know if I want to see that. Oh, dating preferences. Now, this is always interesting. It's just a preference. Sure, yes, okay, but why? Most of us have had our preferences influenced by the media we consume, the people we surround ourselves with, and the society culture we exist in. That's all fine, but I also personally think that's worth unpacking. It's wild to me that pretty much every person we ever see get presented as sexy or attractive in media has been thin, and yet people don't think that could have any impact on who they end up wanting to date in real life. What? I swear the dating preferences thing is so it's so incelly, fat celly. And it's not just the like fat health at every size, body positivity weirdos that are like do this stuff about preferences. Like there's so many other like it's big with the trans like community. I've seen it talked about like even with like there's so many different things, but like it's really an uncomfortable conversation. And yeah, I guess to a certain degree, like one should unpack. Let's look at that. That term is so stupid too. I mean, one should question oneself. Why am I attracted to this? But I think a lot of the times when it comes to fatness, not just a little bit of overweightness, but like somebody who's packing on serious extra weight, it's an encumbrance to many things. It can be encumbering for intimacy. Many people, we're programmed biologically to seek healthy mates. So if somebody doesn't look healthy, they're going to be less attractive. You may still be attracted to them slightly, or there may be other reasons or things that attract you to them, but like most of it, like attraction is pretty instant, especially if we're talking about like male versus female attractions as well, because men and women are different. I mean, women are more likely to, I just think it's like for men, they are more visually stimulated as well. So it's just something about male nature that one has to accept. And with females, I do think that Physicality matters as well. I've seen many fat women, not be as interested in a man who is, or express that they would want to be with a man that is fit. There's just so many things like with a person who has, if we're talking 50 extra pounds, that can be a lot, but a lot of these people are packing hundreds of extra pounds. I mean, there's a lot that's unattractive about that. For one, and it's also like if with a mate, looking for a mate, you're not. I also think we talk about the physicality, but like the mentality is important too. And if somebody has let themselves get that big, they're sick, and you have to think like, well, this person is likely not going to be able to live a long, healthy life with me. If you do have children with this person, what sort of habits are your children going to pick up? Or are they going to be, there's just so many things to consider with somebody who is fat, especially very fat, like morbidly obese fat. There's a lot that is encumbering about dating someone or being in a relationship with someone who is so freaking huge. This is an interesting comment, not esoteric. It's even basic stuff like if you're going to be spending time, bring an extra sweater, layer of clothing because they need the temperature low. I haven't even really thought about that. But actually, now that you mention it, I have noticed that a little bit. I don't like to be cold myself. I don't like to be cold, so that would be upsetting for me. I don't like to be cold. I like to be comfortable. So, all right, let's continue. The preference, like I'm sure people do think about it a lot, and I also think it's just like if somebody doesn't like you, like for me, I know that there are people who aren't attracted to me. Obviously, many people aren't. Like why focus? So many people out here like focus and concern themselves with the wrong things. Worry about attracting the ones you can, but also like lose weight. Lose weight. You'll find you will find if you lose weight that you will be able to attract more people. It's amazing. And you may find that you enjoy and feel more attractive yourself just because you're able to fit into more clothing and be more active. Just as African Americans in the South had separate colored building entrances. Oh no. We have an intersectional train wreck about to happen. A not so subtle form of discrimination occurs in the design of many retail establishments that place plus-size clothing in hidden, hard-to-find locations out of sight from the rest of us. Full-figured women can shop at plus-size chains such as Lane Bryant or big box stores such as Kohl's and Target. Walmart is the top seller of plus-size apparel in the United States. Yet women who seek more style and fashion at mainstream department stores often feel like second-class citizens, and many retail stores don't even sell plus-size clothes at all. Just as African Americans in the South had separate colored building entrances. You're less of the population. Thank God. I mean, we are getting fatter, but like if you're over an XL, you know, if you are plus size, like, you're a smaller portion of the population. If you're that big, like, of course your section is going to be not in the middle. Like, it's, of course it's going to be off. I don't understand. I remember watching a video of, like, what's her name? Anna O'Brien, from, like, the glitter and lasers lady, going, and she was in Spain or something, and she was looking for, like, plus size clothing, which in Spain, I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting and upsetting for her. And it was, but she found it. She found these different, there were several department stores that she entered that had plus size sections. Yes, they were smaller. Yes, they were towards the back of the store. But what do you expect? Like, it's to compare it to, like, to institutionalized racism is, like, quite insane. Like, people can't help being Black. People can lose weight. Okay, this is a lot of swears. So my parents, okay, I'm not going to show it to maintain privacy, but I got some tags on one of my posts saying basically, so my parents putting me on diets at 8 years old was pointless. And if someone is putting an 8-year-old child on an effing weight loss plan, they are effing abusive. Oh my God. On top of diets not working and weight not being a health indicator, there's no justifiable reason to starve and shame an effing child of any age, but especially not 8. At best, you have effed up that child's metabolism for life. And at worst, you have also saddled them with a lifelong struggle of disordered eating. Or, kill them. Oh my God. And because apparently it has to be said that children are meant to be pudgy and to store fat, they need it to effing grow. Children need a lot more nutrients and calories than you expect because they are growing really rapidly, and that takes energy. This is also a growing problem where if you just search parents diet starved infants, you'll find dozens of cases where parents dieting cause their infant to die or nearly die. Wow, okay. Like, I think it's if your kid is, like, overweight, I think you should probably look at, what they're eating and try to eat, maybe feed them better. I wouldn't call it a diet though, It's likely that they're just eating, too much. I mean, what is an 8-year-old eating to get fat? I think they're probably just eating too much. I mean, that was around the age I started to put on weight. I think it was like 8 or 9 where I started to kind of become chubby, and it sucked. And it was due to overeating, and I think also eating processed food because we didn't really have it in the house prior to that. But anyway, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to keep a child from, being fat. Like, it sucks. Was watching a book review, and I realized why I dislike vegans as a group so much, and it's because they love to assign moral value to the food you eat. So vegans being vegan is fat phobic. Shame motivated me to make positive, lasting changes in my life, said no one ever. How do you all feel? I've got some people watching. I feel like shame has been a motivator for me in my life. Maybe not shame that was put on me by other people, but my own, definitely. I've done things where I've looked and I've been like, wow, really, Terry? You need to fix your shit. Just to use some strong language there. You know, I've had that experience with myself. I've had those moments like, oh my God, like, how did I get here? Like, I think it's a very powerful motivator. I don't think shame is something that other people make you feel, though. It's something you feel yourself. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's the food, processed food, delivery. You know, it's that stuff is addictive, and it will make a kid fat. A cute little cashew nut container. A walk through. Okay, nothing human is alien to me is offering me another type of date. And now it's been reduced to a walk through the graveyard with some cashews. My goodness, what do you think of me? Are there no restaurants in your city? I like graves. I love graveyards. I love art galleries. But stop being cheap. If you are not worried about Santa's weight, you are fat phobic. Isn't it funny that we as a society love Santa but hate fat people? By funny, I mean absolutely strange. I guess with Santa, people probably think it's okay because he's not a real person, whereas we should be worried about fat people's health. Fat phobia is so weird. Lord have mercy. Did you all see the black disabled Santa in the wheelchair that Target was selling? That's my Santa. These thin dietitian influencers would never allow themselves to get fat that make money off of curating content. Yeah, I've noticed that too. There's like this whole group of thin women, dietitians on the internet, like doing this kind of, what is it, intuitive eating nonsense, or like posting stuff like this, like serving sizes are BS. Joy is an ingredient. Coffee is delicious, but it's not breakfast. Coffee is usually my breakfast. That's how I break my fast. Every day I have coffee with cream. Coffee is breakfast, and it's an amazing breakfast. Holiday food doesn't need to be burned off. We're happier humans when we eat carbs. And it's a skinny woman posting this. It's a thin woman posting this. It's so, I find it so mean. Like, you're thin. You don't even face any of the consequences of like being in a fat body, and you're like encouraging fat people to just continue down the really destructive path. I love having coffee for breakfast. I love watching my servings. And I love not freaking gluttoning myself to sickness every day. It feels great to have boundaries around food. It feels great to not be a victim of food anymore. Hi, S.A. Brady. Welcome. You can't buy good vibes. No, but you could buy a beautiful woman a nice meal. Fat mushrooms. Foraging in the forest. Oh no. The Santa suit is based on Amanita muscaria. Yes, I've heard that. Also his flight, because the Amanita muscaria is a psychedelic mushroom. You know what? I bought some to take, and it got eaten by bugs. They somehow I don't know. I had this little pack of it. Like I was planning, well, I don't want to get into it, but I love the amanita mushrooms though. They're beautiful. They would occasionally crop up in my yard as a child. Since I grew up in Alaska, we had them pretty regularly. I didn't know, and I didn't learn about their psychedelic properties until I was probably 18 or 19. But they always said, don't eat those because they're toxic, which they are, but like most psychedelics are slightly toxic. But anyway, reindeer pee. So people, the best way to like get the psychedelic properties off of the amanita is to feed it to reindeer and then eat the pee that they leave in the snow. That was like the best way to get the trip, apparently. But you can also, like, I guess some people who trip with it, like drink their own pee. You can also trip just taking it once. You don't have to drink your own pee. And I wasn't intending to. But anyway, apparently, once it filters through the body, it apparently changes something in the chemical process. So that's the like real psychedelic stuff. But yeah, people would eat the reindeer urine. Like it was how they would trip with this stuff. Yeah, they're the red ones with the white spots. I rode a bike one time. Mark rides e-bikes or rides a bike and loves e-bikes. Yeah, e-bikes are pretty cool. It's pretty cool we have all these options now. Oh yeah, it makes me giggle thinking of what Freely would say about the coffee and cream. She would talk about the need for carb energy. Yeah, I would never trade places with Freely. She looks so miserable and sick and just she's utterly destroyed her beauty. She was a gorgeous woman, like she really was, and she's just it's sad, honestly. I'm so sorry, Mark, but I mean that's you brought up the Amanita muscaria. Got my bike stolen when I had a one night stand. Yes, it was. You're right, that was cringe. But I mean, you know, I don't do that. I don't, just for the record, I don't do that. That's nasty. But I do know, I know some things. The banana girl is wild. Yeah, she's awful. Like she's just, she's so sick. And then she has, like, I remember she responded to, I think it was Glitter and Lasers again, Anna O'Brien, who was like doing some sort of video about like, maybe it's another fat influencer, but I think it was her. Like she was going keto, or she was doing the keto diet. And so she was doing like a what I eat in the day. And Freely actually did a video response where she was suggesting that this woman eat 5,000 plus calories of carb, or like 5,000 plus calories a day of like just like carbs, and it just it was sugar. I'm like, and she's like, well, if you continue to eat this way, you will lose weight. And I'm like, ugh, this woman already eats that much, like regularly. Like she doesn't need to. It was just insane. She's just, nobody should ever listen to her. You're going to see your mother this week. That's lovely, Mark. Glad to see that I am well. Am I well? I don't know. Let us continue. Okay, so yeah, I love coffee as breakfast. I love coffee as a meal. I'll get a coffee as a meal. Iced coffee is a great meal, especially if you're getting one of those sugary drinks. If you're getting one of those like fancy sugary drinks, you shouldn't, like, those are very high in calories and fat usually. Like treat it, it's got enough calories to be a meal. You should treat it like a meal if you don't want to gain weight. Sorry, I mean that's why you don't live off of that stuff. You have it as a treat. Something about the whale. I'm not interested. No one is saying you have to find us attractive, but while I do understand the whole you don't have to be attracted to fat people, but you don't need to be an A thing, I think those people should examine themselves on why they specifically find fat people unattractive, like simply because they're fat. I'm not saying you have to be attracted to us, but why is every fat person unattractive to you? Is it because you think fat equals ugly, or fat equals bad, or fat equals unhealthy, or what? Because those are bad things to believe, which is fat phobia. I mean, God, are we 13 here? What is this mentality? Those are bad things to believe. No, they're true things to believe. You can absolutely find fat people unattractive, but solely because they're fat is a bit suspicious. It is unhealthy. It's often ugly. I mean, not every fat person is ugly. There are fat people who are beautiful. Would they be more beautiful if they lost weight? Yes. And those people tend to do okay. Like an attractive, like a fat woman who is pretty, let's say, has a lot more options than a fat guy who is attractive, or who is good looking otherwise. But most people are not pretty. Most people are not good. Most people are average. And so being fat is going to severely limit you. Oh yeah, Blue Lotus. Yeah, the Egyptians took that. Yeah, I haven't taken that. Although I thought about it, I did think about getting some, but it seemed like such a mild trip that it wouldn't be. I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me very much. But it seemed like they would like put the Blue Lotus flowers in their wine, and it would seep in it. And so I've heard of people doing that, like soaking the dried blue flowers in their wine. But I don't like to drink wine. Food is the way poor people treat their mental health problems. You know what? That's often true. That is often true. You are right about that. Often helps people feel better. I mean, it's a comfort thing. And you know what? Also, I mean, with poor people who've experienced poverty, if you've been without food, like it takes on a pretty strong psychological level for you. You start to equate it with safety, with love, with comfort. And there is obviously a correlation between poverty and fatness, and it's not just like things such as food deserts, although that has a big role in it, but it also is the level of comfort eating that you see. It's definitely sociology. The sociology of it is quite interesting. It's very unique as an extract with a small amount of alcohol. Chocolate has the oxycontin in it. Oxycontin? Oxytocin, maybe? I like chocolate, especially when I get hormonal. Having a little chocolate can be helpful. I also crave red meat at those times as well. A little chocolate, a little red meat, I'm good. Honestly, I, as a whole, am just pissed. A doctor demands us to lose 40 plus pounds to get top surgery. Oh dear, we've got another intersectional train wreck. Another intersectional train wreck going on. Chew, fucking chew. When the more important and scientifically backed concern with weight is that you need to be at a weight you can maintain, because gaining or losing weight can cause the surgery to heal in an unusual manner. I'm at a weight and lifestyle that is happy, healthy, and active. I love the balance in life I got with my body and what I want to do. My blood tests and vitals are all stellar, probably because you're very young and haven't developed a disease yet. Why the F and who the H does he think he is to say that I have to lock into a body type that far off from my natural baseline? If it was 10 pounds, sure, I get that. But 40 F off, you pig. I'm not going to reach an effing BMI of some stupid standard and just be expected to sustain that standard when it's just so obviously not in my, oh, I can't seem to scroll it. Okay, so yeah, that was just the whole photo. Crazy. We have multiple levels of crazy going on there. Double mastectomy is horrible regardless. We all know how I feel about double mastectomy, but man, when a fat woman gets it, it's an effing tragedy. You know, it's it's a tragedy. Exactly, Pacheco Rone. You know what's going on. You know, we get depleted during, women, we go through, our hormonal shifts throughout the month, and having some chocolate and red meat does help level me out. I find I get, I'm less likely to be depleted. So, try to have that and make sure I get lots of electrolytes at that time. Okay, so let's continue. Man. Obesity isn't real. It's a racist construct still used in medicine to make more money. What? And this person said, I want to see you say that when your eventual obesity health issues makes you a slave to the medical industrial complex. Man, it's so awful how they conflate. It's so awful how the health at every size, fat activist, crazies can call weight loss, obesity, like they make it out as if these are racist constructs. It's not healthy for people of any color to be fat. Human beings, regardless of our racial differences, are going to, we respond to fat similarly. It's not good for any race. And I don't know if they think just because like certain demographics, because of their poverty, are more likely to be fat, that therefore they're somehow doing the right thing by encouraging those people to stay fat. But it's not good for them. Like, how can you like advocate for people? How can you try to want to help them? And yet, like, your version of helping them is to keep them back. You're holding people back is what you're doing. All right, let's see what else we find. Fat liberation. Okay, this looks exciting. What it isn't: anti-health and demonizing people seeking health. Okay, anti-people seeking weight loss. That's a lie. Anti-exercise. Encouraging people to be fat. That's a lie. Hating thin people. That's a lie. An excuse to be lazy or greedy. That's a lie. Forcing people to find fat folks attractive. No, you can't force that, but you can socially pressure them. You can shame them. A cult, that's a lie. Denying fat people can be unhealthy. Okay, what it is, a social justice movement that seeks to dismantle the stigma, marginalization, and barriers that fat people experience so they can access the world and enjoy equal rights as those in smaller bodies. That marginalization and those barriers and that stigma are not going to go away. People are afraid of fat because it is bad, because it is unhealthy, and in some ways it can be dangerous. I saw a video recently of a woman who was probably around 600 pounds trying to get into a car. She could not get into the car. When she did try to get in the car, like the sheer weight, like the shock absorption of the vehicle, it was astounding to look at. But so she gets into the car, or she can't get herself fully in the car. And then as she's trying to get out, she ends up like falling on the ground, and she had no way to get herself up. Okay, like I know this is an extreme circumstance, but that there's a stigma on that for a reason. The barriers, I mean, there are barriers in life for a reason. If cars were made to like, if every vehicle was made to cater to someone her size, or if vehicles generally were, then they would be very dangerous for smaller people. And most people are much smaller than that. And then, marginalization. When you're a minority, you're going to be marginalized regardless. When you are super fat, you are a minority of the population. Things are just not going to be made for you. Things for you will have to be specialized. You will have to, find ways to be accommodated outside the norm. It's wild. Anyway, like you can't, you're never going to be liberated from that. Like I don't like fat people like being treated badly, but like at the end of the day, like life is just going to be harder for you if you're fat. End of there, and you can't be liberated from it because it's just not practical and it's not possible. Any art about body image is bad unless it's from fat women. I wish a very death. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. To all thin/medium-sized people making art about their beloved and upheld bodies. I don't care. Who cares about you? Shut up, shut up, shut up. I wish a very death. Like, wow. Wow. Health at every size, family physician. Oh no, a family physician that's health at every size. That's bad. Tells patients that losing weight is impossible even if they want to try. We don't recommend weight loss as a way of treating medical conditions, Moore says. Instead, she tells her patients that exercise and nutritious food are good for them regardless of whether or not they lose weight. We recommend moving your body in a way that's sustainable, which hopefully is joyful, she says, and eating food in a way that nourishes. Oops, sorry. Also, because the male-female dynamic is so messed up, people use food as a substitute for sex and love. You always bring a very interesting comments, but that is true. And like a lot of these very bigger people, like they'd rather eat than F. They would rather eat than have sex. I mean, and it's a barrier to intimacy. It literally is. Sex is not, I mean, once you reach a certain weight, like sex isn't even really possible. Like your hormones are put out of balance from having that much fat on your body. and food becomes your pleasure. And I think that's part of like where the kind of fetishization of this is as well, because there are fetishists who are into this kind of thing, and they find it sexual, the gluttony. I'll be honest, as a former healthcare assistant, moving a 40-year-old 300-pound woman on a hoist, you kind of internally think this lady is like a crazy aristocrat. She has, by her own self-destruction, made servants of the world. It is a mental illness at the end of the day. It's tragic. I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, other people, when you get to that weight, other people become burdened by it. I wish people understood that and would not, I wish people would not take their health for granted, because it isn't static. And if you're obese, you're playing Russian roulette with your health, and you're not gonna enjoy the consequences. I mean, 300 pounds is nothing compared to what a lot of these people are. Like, a lot of these fat women you see dancing, like, they're over 300 pounds. They're like 350, pushing 400. Tess Holiday has gotten, I don't know, she's gotten massive. I think she's probably around 500 pounds now, honestly, from the last, photos and videos I've seen of her. Like, the train is going to hit the wall eventually, and it's going to be ugly when it does. But yeah, I mean, that's a terrible position to be in, and it's embarrassing, like, it is. Of course, a GP is a Hayes believer. Hi, Leah. Yeah, I know. Health at every size. Ridiculous. I mean, as a family practitioner too, like, eat food that is nourishing. Did it properly nourish you? And do movement that is joyful. AKA, we're not going to tell you anything real. Because let me tell you, working out is not joyful. It kind of sucks sometimes. It is, yeah. I mean, it is. It's comparable to that. It's very tragic. You have pity, like, again, like, I have pity for it. Like, it's hard. And let me tell you, I've talked about it before. My father was morbidly obese. He died very young. It was very hard on me. I went my whole life dealing with him and his weight problems, and like, the burden it put on me, let alone on the medical industry, the amount of problems that came up from it that he had. I remember when I broke my arm. I was in this accident, and my dad went into the facility with me, and that was difficult for him to, like, walk into the facility. And he was sitting on a chair across from me, and the chair broke. And I remember reaching out to him, but my dad was like, let me fall. Like, and that memory came back to me recently. And I was just like, God, that was awful. Like, here I was with, like, I'd just been in this accident. I was getting fitted for a sleeve. They put me into a compression sleeve. Luckily, I was able to avoid surgery when my humerus was broken. But yeah, my dad broke this chair, and it was it wasn't the first and only chair he broke in his life. He broke multiple chairs, and he broke, like, couches. I believe he broke one of my family members' couches. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm sharing this, and you don't want to get into that position. Like, and I wish these people, would stop just thinking about like, oh, things are fine today. Like today leads to tomorrow's, and like eventually there will be consequences for the actions you take. And being super morbidly obese, it's setting you up for a life of misery and dependency. And it sucks. And being dependent on others in this world is not safe. You know, you're much better off if you can have some level of control over yourself. It all comes down to self-love. People are addicted to anything that silences the pain. Yeah, well, that's not self-love, is it? It's fascinating how fat phobes' brains kind of stop at people shouldn't be fat or fat people should lose weight. Like if it's tough to fit into an airplane seats or find clothes or get a doctor to take you seriously, their solution is weight loss, as if anything and everything can wait until you become skinny. I mean, even if we played along and pretend that long-term weight loss is achievable for everyone and not just a small minority, oh man, oh man. You know what I really hate about that kind of mentality is like, yeah, it is hard. It is hard. I worked very hard to lose weight and maintain it. It took a lot to get my mindset right to do it. But man, it is an achievement. And like they just like they piss all over it. Like I want that for other people. Like I want more fat people to lose weight. I want more fat people to get healthy. They act like, and they talk about it as if it's impossible. It's not impossible. Like if you think it is impossible, it's more likely to be. Okay? I'm just saying you're not doing yourself any favors by regurgitating that kind of rhetoric. And that's all it is. It's a belief. And I believed a lot of this stuff too. That's the other thing. Like I believed that kind of nonsense. Like, oh, it's so hard. Oh, most people like, gain it back, or diets fail. And it's like, well, yeah, you can't diet. You have to change your habits entirely. You have to change your relationship with food. It's not about dieting. It's about finding a healthy balance with food, finding a sustainable way to eat. Okay, that takes time. Even the handful of fat people who will be skinny in 5 years are still fat now, and they'll be fat tomorrow too. They will be here on earth for the duration of those 5 years, living and partaking in society. It just baffles me that some people will always be like, I just don't think anyone should stay fat. And it's the end of their argument. Like, okay, bro, fat people are still here though. Regardless, I'm going to keep needing clothes to wear. Fat people have clothes to wear. Do fat people not have clothes to wear? Airplanes, flying is uncomfortable for anyone. Definitely being fat makes flying uncomfortable, but you can buy another seat, or you can fly first class. You are bigger than you have to, when you are different, when you are not the norm, you cannot expect society to cater to you. If you're an American person, like white Western American person, and you go to Japan, the people there are smaller than you. You cannot expect that they're going to be able to accommodate you. You see this with a lot of Americans that go and live in like Asian countries. They have very hard time finding pants, for example, because like most people there don't have butts like we do. Okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, but do those people complain? Do those people try to make it into some sort of social justice movement? Like, why aren't the people in this nation catering to me, the very different person that happens to be here. Ugh. Ugh. It's ridiculous. It's just like the victimization, like, oh, and also like, I still need to wear clothes. Like, never has there been a time in reality where there have been more options for fat people to have clothes. Like, never have we ever been at a point in history where there have been more options than fat people have now. There are so many options. First off, how many retailers supply up to 3X? So you can go into Walmart, you can go into Kohl's, Target. I'm speaking about America here. In the UK, Primark. I've seen Primark plus size clothing hauls from people in like the UK and Ireland. Even when Anna went to like Spain, these department stores had plus size sections going up to 3, 4X. Okay. Wow. And then if you're super, super fat, these retailers will often have online stores where you can get up to like 6, 8, which no person should be that effing big. But there are, and then there's all of the other like retailers online that have massive plus size clothing like lines and sections. It's ridiculous. There's never been a time where there haven't been more options. And yet they're still complaining like, it's so hard to find clothes. Like, I was a fat teenager in the late 90s, early aughties, okay? Don't talk to me about how hard it is to find clothes. You have no idea what I lived through. I was a size 18 in high school most of the time. I was not happy with what I was wearing most of the time. It was not cool. It was not what I would have preferred. Man, if I had been alive now, the options would have been great. I would have been able to express myself so much more. But you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that like, because one of the benefits of losing weight that I experienced when I had my first weight loss was getting to go to normal stores and buy clothes. Like, it was rewarding, or going to thrift stores and having more options and having bigger sections and like, but I have to say, like, whenever I go to Goodwill, which is rare because honestly, I have enough clothing. I have more than enough clothing. I don't need to go looking for clothes right now in my life. And I still end up buying clothes because I like clothing. We all have our vices, people, okay? And it's not that bad, all right? I'm not out of control. I'm not in debt here. But what I'm saying is, there's options. I see it now. There are way more options than when I was younger. But yeah, the victimization, like it's never been easier to be fat. Never has there been a time in history where it has been easier to be fat. Imagine being fat in like ancient Rome. How much material you'd have to like get to make your togas. Like, or any other period in history. Like, imagine being fat in the Victorian era. You'd have to get your clothing custom made by a tailor. And you'd have to get all that, you'd have to pay for all that extra fabric. And now they don't do that. It's all just the same price. Like, it's easy. People who are a 1X are paying the same as people who are a 6X. Make it make sense, even though you're wearing a effing tent comparatively. Nothing human is alien to me has fallen back into smoking and drinking. Well, Peter Pan, I wish you luck. We all have work to do on ourselves, obviously. But I can't drink. Ugh. It's so hard. Like I've seen a couple things lately that are like showing espresso martinis, and I'm like thinking, oh, it'd be nice to have one of those. And then I'm like, yeah, but how am I going to feel the next 3 days if I have one espresso martini? I can't smoke either. I used to smoke. If I smoke now, I feel terrible. Like, so anyway, just think about how terrible you feel. Like, you'll feel so much better if you don't do those things. Leah does not like flying. Yeah, it's uncomfortable for everyone. But imagine being 400 pounds trying to get into one of those tiny little seats. It's horrible. And giving people all those options enables people to stay obese. I agree. It does. I like that you have check in your photo too, by the way. The economics of the largest clothing, knowing the sweatshops make it possible to take the Westerner claiming oppression to the highest hypocrisy. I pray for those little girls every day that make our clothing. I pray for them every day. It's true though. Yeah, I mean, it's like, man, you think you've got problems. You think you've got problems. You have to go online to get your 6X Shein costume, you know? Okay. There was this like strawberry dress that all the fat girls were wearing a couple years ago. I think it was from Shein. Oh man. And it was they had some massive sizes. I think even like I think Tess had, it was like a knockoff of like another bigger brand, but I don't know who it was, but yeah, I just remember that. It was just like, oh man. You have no idea how lucky you are. You have no idea what fat girls had to go through 20 years ago, 10 years ago compared to now. Like, you're so lucky. And you know, you have these little girls making these clothes for you, and you sit and you bitch about how hard it is. It's like, come on. Why is the yoga community so rife with FatLogic? I don't want to get into that, but yeah, you can't get into certain poses if you're encumbered by your fat. Found an argument between this white leftist fat liberationist and this POC person about fat liberation and obesity. Is Red actually making so much sense? Damn, I have really liked her content in the past. Fat liberation acceptance is such an important cause. I didn't know she was so toxic. But also, a lot of the commenters seem to be missing what's actually wrong with her. Fat liberation activism is a brand new concept, even to the most left-leaning people. And unfortunately, a lot of us get hated simply for advocating that fat people be treated like everyone else. An example is that everyone struggles with body image thing. I think the problem, no, not everyone does. Not everyone does struggle with body image. Actually, some of us don't. Even when I was fat, I didn't have like these body image issues that people always are talking about. Like, I just thought it was, and I still to this day think it's really silly to spend that much time whining about your body and hyper focusing on your body. Like, if you don't like something, change it. Stop hyper fixating on your perceived flaws that nobody else cares about. It's so draining. Being around those people is so tiring too. Like, there's nothing more draining than being around some whiny girl who's whining about how she doesn't like her nose or doesn't like her ass or doesn't like her stomach. Like, are we in middle school here? Yeah, a lot of us are, apparently. A lot of us never left. It is the most draining thing to deal with that. Anyway, I think the problem is a lot of fat activists have is that insecurities aren't the same as discrimination. Like, any person can feel bad about their bodies, but only specific people are literally denied, for example, basic health care because of the way their body looks. There are stats that show that people are discriminated against in every aspect of life: jobs, housing, healthcare, etc. Are you able to do those jobs? Are you able to pay for that housing? Are you able to keep the housing up? Healthcare. Everybody has a bad time with healthcare. Nobody has a good time with healthcare in America. You know, I'm not having a good time with healthcare in America right now. I'm really struggling with it, honestly. Like, I need to get a new doctor, but like, I've had such negative experiences in the past several years that I'm just like frozen. Like, and I'm not alone in that. A lot of people who aren't fat have real problems with healthcare in America. And when I was obese, I didn't have any doctors telling me to lose weight. I've talked about that before. Nobody ever told me to lose weight. Nobody even suggested it, even though it was definitely compounding my health problems. Anyway, intersectionally, it compounds with other discriminated classes. It is a big deal, and I'm incredibly saddened that even most leftists I know won't take the issue seriously. I mean, okay, and then this is the response. Sam at Every Size pointed out the problems of fat people, especially fat women in American healthcare. There's no doubt that fat people should be treated with dignity and respect no matter what. I think that should have been the main thing that fat acceptance should have been. It should be within that realm. To add to the third paragraph, we have tons of peer-reviewed research papers on obesity too, and there's no point in denying it, like climate change. Oh God, well, I don't want to even get into climate change, but oh my God. I've seen Sam at Every Size. I don't know what to think about her because she's fat. She's literally fat, and she's like always reacting to these fat people. I find it like really off-putting. I'm like, why don't you get your house in order? Because you could stand to lose 20 to 30 pounds. A half pint of Guinness topped with Tia Maria. I don't know what Tia Maria is. Yes, the yogis do the toxic positivity thing. Thank you, Leah. Really, I hate that. Stop hyperfixating and like trying to bring other people into it as a conversation. Like, I don't care about your weird obsession with your nose. And they'll just like want, and I'm like, they're like, I want to get a rhinoplasty. I want to get a nose job. I'm like, I don't care. I don't see anything wrong with your nose. Your nose is fine. If you do that, your nose probably will, you know. Also, like, there's just an aspect of that, like, I don't know. I don't like it. I will never like put someone down for getting plastic surgery. You know, I'm never going to be like, you know, judging them harshly for it, but like, it's not for me. I don't like it. I wouldn't recommend it. You know, I don't think it's the right way to go about things. And I think that we do a lot better when we embrace who and what we are. If you have a big ass weird nose, you can, if it really bothers you, go pay a doctor to cut it up, cut chunks of it off, you know, knock yourself out. But like, if you have kids, they're going to have that same nose. It's never going to go. Like, it's always going to be there. Like, I find it rather, and then, you know, you get your nose done, you attract a partner. I saw that, like, there was this story in China. This woman had a ton of plastic surgery. Like, she had everything done. She had her chin done, her nose, so much work done. So much. I don't know all the terms, but like, she got married. She had 2 kids. And man, them kids were ugly. Okay. And the husband was pissed when he found out because he thought, you know, he married this woman. He thought his kids would look a certain way, and they come out looking they were ugly. All right. I don't like to say that about children generally, but some children are ugly. And these kids were ugly. And like that's you're never gonna escape the fact that you were ugly. You may be able to like pull off a, visage, but I don't know. Isn't it much better to accept yourself? But I mean, in her own life, I get why people do it, but maybe it's just I've never disliked the way I look that much. So I just can't relate to people who do. And a lot of people who do hyperfixate like that, there's nothing wrong with the way they look. They're perfectly attractive. Obese is a slur. Oh, that's very small. Wanting family members and loved ones to lose weight for their long-term health is abusive. Okay, pressuring anyone to diet or lose weight is abusive, regardless of whether that person is your partner, your friend, or a complete stranger to you. Apparently, a lot of people in the community are genuinely unaware of this. But an even greater and alarming number of people out there just pretend to be unaware of this fact so they don't feel guilty about fat shaming and food policing someone they claim to care about. Abuse education, fat shaming, food policing, diet culture, fat liberation, fat positive, body positive, blah, 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 anarchy, anarchism, feminism, yikes. Yikes. Get a grip. Get a grip. Pros of being fat. Cats will look at your belly and ask, is anyone going to need that? And not wait for an answer. Cons of being fat. Diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis, people not finding you attractive. So you have to go online and ask why people don't question their attractions more. Oh man, we got another intersectional train wreck. Yay. Okay. The rest of the world tells us that these bodies are killing us, that we're dying, that we're dead, and still our bodies show up for us every single day. I think that is so beautiful. In the South, it's like most people down here are bigger. So it's like obviously people can't be hating on fat folks too much. But even at a dinner table with your grandma who has low hanging arm fat and the rest of your family who does too, everyone's still watching your plates. Everyone's still watching what you eat. Everyone's saying, even though they're not going to go to the gym, they're going to say you need to lose weight. They're asking why you're getting so big. They're asking why are you eating so late or things like that, which are controlling your relationship to food and are controlling your bodies in so many ways. You shouldn't eat late. Yeah, I've seen that a lot with fat influencers or people who like share what they eat in a day. Like one thing you can do to keep your weight down is to not eat too late. I'll say that, like maybe have a cutoff time and don't eat after that. And, I find oftentimes with families because, when I was younger and fatter, like my dad would often say things to me about my weight. Like he was obese, like again, super morbidly obese person. But he didn't say that to be mean to me, even if it may have hurt my feelings. Like he said it because he wanted to spare me the pain he was in. But, people who don't have good habits really can't model good habits. And I don't know. I think about that too. In so many places, it's so much more common to be fat. Like I was thinking about that today, like living on the coast, like the east or the west coast, and in cities, um, there is a level of fitness. Generally, people tend to be thinner than when you kind of go more inward. So, like depending on where people are located, there are places around the country where people are fatter, and it's just more part of the culture there. And I think it's has a lot to do with the fact that people aren't as active. They don't go out and walk as much. They don't go do things as much. They don't use their bodies as much. They drive everywhere. Drive-throughs are bigger. Like, and when I did get very fat, I was living in a small town as well. I don't think I do think that had something to do with it, like the weather as well. It was very hot there, so I never wanted to go outside. Definitely environment has a lot to do with it, or it can really influence it. Some of you will talk about body positivity until you're blue in the face, and then only like a big girl selfie and not RB because you're ashamed to have her on your blog. What does RB mean? Kind of sick of these performative, we love fat girls, they're so hot text posts when it's clear that some of the people sharing them aren't practicing what they preach. Oh, reblog. This is Tumblr. This is from Tumblr, isn't it? Reblog. You'll only like a big girl selfie, but you won't reblog it. That's sad. No, for real, Leah, it's 90+% of weight loss is the food. Especially when you're talking about being like very fat, morbidly obese, it's food. Changing your diet is the number one thing you can do. A lot of, I get really irritated, like, well, like a lot of these, like, again, bringing her up again, Anna O'Brien, Glitter and Lasers. She's one that does a lot of exercise. She films herself exercising, or she gets filmed exercising. I'm like, at your weight, at your size, you don't need to be exercising. You need to be like getting your eating under control. I don't know with her though. Like recently, there's been a whole lot going on with her. Like there was a Target video she did that got deleted, or that she deleted, which was very telling. She behaved very badly in the store. She was like taking clothing off of the mannequins and putting other outfits on it. She couldn't find any clothing in her size, even though she wasn't even looking in the plus size section. And then when she got to the plus size section, she started playing with the mannequins, which was totally disrespectful. And then she went to like go get snacks, and everything she bought was like junk food, but it was in the protein section. So she bought like tons of different kinds of chips that were like protein chips, because she's got to eat protein because she's training. And I'm like, protein is meat and dairy. Like you need to pack on protein. You need to get some like meat. You need to get some cottage cheese. You need to get some yogurt. You need to get some steak, burger. Get some chicken. Like it was very strange. It was very strange. I don't know. But yeah, it's been like, and she's been on a weight loss journey for over a year, and she's plateaued, and she's been on a weight loss drug as well. I believe she's on Wegovy or something, like, and she's plateaued, and it's like obvious why, and it's the food. She's eating like healthy junk food. It's like, it's chips and candy bars that are labeled protein. It's not real food. And it's just like your diet hasn't improved. You switched out like the Snickers for a protein bar that has caramel in it. Anyway. If fat girls and incels become power couples, we as humankind could achieve anything. Well, it's not that hard for fat women to find. Like, I don't know. I feel like for fat women have more options than fat men. Anyway, well, let's just say that. Like, most of the time, fat women have an easier time finding mates than fat men do. Fat women do a lot better with that. And I think it's just because, like, I think a woman having extra weight on her isn't as unsightly as a man is, for one. Just the shape of it isn't, fat women can still have a curve to them that makes them attractive. And, a lot of them have, less standards because they have less options. Anyway, I feel like that is intentionally performative to promote products, lifestyle, being active. It's all about sponsorship. When the health issues get too severe, she'll have to decide on changing career. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, these are clearly my one night stand with the big gal worked in my favor. People are people. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, a lot of fat women, well, I mean, they'll go on. I've seen it, like, I don't know if we're going to come across anything like that here on FatLogic, but I've seen like women being like, if you are afraid to publicly date a fat person, then you're blah, blah. And I'm like, you're not dating. If he only comes to your house and F's you, you're not dating. Okay? And maybe hangs out for a while and like uses your Wi-Fi and eats your food. You're not dating. That's not dating. But they'll be on here like telling on themselves that, like, oh yeah, I let this guy do this. It's just like, healthy junk food describes the whole cereal aisle at the grocery store. In my local grocery store, the protein bars and protein chips are located in the same aisle as the cereal. And yeah, cereal is junk food. I do occasionally crave like grape nuts or something. I do like oatmeal sometimes, but I don't think it has to be eaten sparingly. It's not packed with nutrients. Okay. So anyway, reblog the fat girl selfie that you liked. Oh, this is funny. Fat does not inhibit musculoskeletal movement, meaning your fat is not slowing you down when you run or make yoga impossible. Think of fat like wearing a ski suit. People are very athletic in a ski suit. You can wear a bulky ski suit and do those things. I'm not saying it's easy to bend in a yoga pose with big boobs and belly, but it's not inhibiting your bones and muscles at an anatomical functioning level any more than wearing a thick sweater would. I'm pretty sure that a massive gut weighs a hell of a lot more than a thick sweater. What does a thick sweater weigh? A couple of pounds, maybe? Get real. Decades of research, I love the little flower. Decades of research have shown that experiencing weight stigma increases one's risk for diabetes, heart disease, discrimination. I like how they put heart disease and diabetes in with discrimination and bullying, eating disorders, sedentariness, lifelong discomfort in one's body, and even early death. Amanda Montgomery, RD, LDN. What the hell? How is diabetes and heart disease like, man, what the heck? What the heck? And it's not stigma that causes diabetes and heart disease. There's like actual biochemical things going on when you develop these diseases that are a result of obesity. And obesity, like, oh man, to become obese and to maintain an obese body, you have to engage in certain behaviors. It's not stigma. This is just like stigma again. Like it's kind of similar to the prostitution lobby, like the sex worker activist types that are like, stigma is what causes men to, kill prostitutes, essentially. Like that, they literally argue the same thing. It's like, it's the stigma against prostitution that causes it to be dangerous. I'm like, no, just like the stigma against fat is not what causes fat people to get sick and die from being fat. Like, what's this stigma? Jeez. But she is actually a pretty chill person with a nice smile, so it's like, I ain't perfect. I mean, like I said, a lot of men do not mind dating a fat woman. I mean, they may not want to date a 500-pound woman, but a woman who's like between 200 to 300 pounds usually still can get a man pretty easily. Grape nuts have no added sugar. I find them delicious. Yeah, I like them. I don't know, something about them. Just the like texture of them too. I like to, let them soak in the milk for a while. Get a little bit soggy. They take forever to get like soggy. Or sometimes I like to put them in some yogurt. A little crunchy crunch. I don't know. There's something about them that's satisfying. But still, like I don't even have any in the house. Like I haven't had them in months. Next time I get cereal, I might get them though, because I've been thinking about them lately. Fat discrimination, body comments, making fun of fat people, commenting on people's food, and any other behavior that increases weight stigma is not only bad for people's mental health and self-image, it's bad for their physical health too. Whatever. Eating junk food when you want is self-harm. No, you know better than your own body. No, you don't know better than your own body. No, I'm not self-harming by restricting and exercising. I just enjoy being healthy. Ugh, I love it when my muscles burn from exercise. The audacity of this. Look at this. Look, I'm not an exerciser. I can't really do it physically. It's just, I can to a certain degree. And I don't love it when my muscles burn from exercise. I don't enjoy it at all. But like, this does not make a person a clown that they enjoy making healthy choices for themselves and exercising. Good God. And you know what? Eating junk food, it's so crazy. Like, it's not good for you, especially if you are overweight to a very unhealthy degree. It's not time for you to enjoy junk food. If you are obese, you need to focus on just giving your food fuel. You need to heal your relationship with food. Food isn't just about pleasure. You know, you need to like treat it as fuel for a while until you get your stuff in order. It is self-harm. If you're obese and you're, you know, just continuing to eat junk food, you are hurting yourself. Research finds a healthy diet is cheaper than the typical Australian diet. Following dietary guidelines could save you $160 a fortnight. That's true. It is. I know they act like it's so expensive to eat healthy, and it's not. Like it's way cheaper. If you're making your own food, if you're eating real food, like real food, eggs, meats, dairy, vegetables, you know, like plant carbs, you know, non-refined carbs. That stuff is cheap comparatively to like getting, you know, processed pre-made food. It is like the weeks when I really go ham and like buy a lot of real food, I save money those weeks. I save a good deal of money. And the food I'm eating, like, it's way more satiating. Good point, Pacheco Rone. It is way cheaper than blood pressure meds and insulin. Thank you. You know, and also like it's way cheap. It's cheaper than eating out and eating junk food. Like, do you know how much a bag of chips is? Okay, so like I had those Doritos I was talking about earlier. You know how much a big, like a normal size bag of Doritos is? It's like $6. Do you know how much real food I can get for that? I can get real food for that. I can get eggs. I can get cheese. I can get like milk. I could probably get milk and grape nuts for that. It's, and you know, when I eat that food, it has nutritional value. Oh yeah, I saw this recently, the gorilla skeleton. Some people are meant to be wide and some small, and it's okay. Love yourself, queens and kings. Never mind, I think that's a gorilla, but still love yourself. Look at that human skeleton. Fat people don't have bigger skeletons than thin people. I'm going to wrap this up soon. I think I'm going to scroll a few more and then probably wrap this up. Yeah, video games I'm not looking at. Not the people advocating for staying fat. Fat people over 40 look younger, say researchers. Think all that time in the gym will keep you young? Well, a new study has found that people aged over 40 look younger when their faces are fatter. That's true. I mean, that is true. If you have more facial fat, you will look younger. You know, that is something, you know, if you have fat on your face, then it does tend to make you look younger as you age. But if you're like super morbidly obese, that tends to age you quite a bit. Like if you've ever seen a teenager who's obese, like they don't look like a teenager. They look like a woman in their 30s usually. I've never seen a teenage boy that's that fat, but yeah, they well actually there is one influencer I've seen who lost weight I've seen his photos. Yeah, fat will age you in some ways, but like at some point as a woman, you have to choose between your ass and your face. That's just, we all know this. We all know this. At some point, you have to decide that, you know, you're going to keep a little bit of fat on your body to keep your face looking a little bit plump. And some women choose not to do that, and they look a little bit more aged for it. But regardless, we're all on that, trajectory towards aging, and being obese, being very fat is, going to rapidly age so many other things in you that having a youthful looking face is really not going to make up for all of the elderly problems you're putting on yourself. Like if you're obese and 40, you're looking at a lot of problems, a lot of health problems that are going to age you specifically. You're going to feel like a much older person. So, Donuts, not push-ups, make you look young. Stay fat, look younger. The woman in that photo isn't fat either. I should have to pay more for my clothes because someone else is twice my size. Sorry, but there is a notable increase in consumption of fabric for plus sizes. And we talked about this. The jump in graded sizes for plus size is 2 inches or more per size for core POMs or POMs, I don't know. Larger measurements equal larger pattern pieces, and the configuration of your marker will result in a larger yield, which will increase your raw material cost and ergo your prices. Not to mention brands that service both Missy and plus size customers need to have 2 different fit models, and good fit models aren't cheap. Garment prices need to accurately reflect not only the work that goes into producing a garment, but also the cost and amount of raw materials used. We cannot, nor should we, expect brands and factories to absorb the cost of higher material consumption to make plus size garments. The end price may not seem fair, but it's honest. These costs should be absorbed across the size range, not a fat tax. Negotiate with the factory, forecast better, develop a better ratio for your marker, and all other costs of fitting and pattern development will flow into the cost of all sizes, not just fat. Yeah, why should a person who is a normal size, who exists within a normal human range, have to pay extra for your tent that you're wearing, for your muumuu? Your glorified muumuu, like really, like. And also, yeah, I've seen this too with like the plus size influencers, complaining about the cost of, or the fact that like, many companies will not make plus sizes, and they will only carry up to like a 3X. And they're like, this is ridiculous. Why won't you do it? And they're like, we simply can't afford it right now. Like there was one woman who started a line recently who was like plus sized herself, and she could only afford to go up to that size, and like all these people were coming for her, canceling her, calling her trash because she couldn't cater to like 4, 6, 8X people as a new business. Like no consideration for how much that costs. I love you too, Leah. I don't know what you're responding to. I hope it was something funny I said. Wow, that's so wild to want smaller sizes to cover the cost. Removing all barriers to gaining weight is a terrible idea for society. Dude, yeah, for real. Like it is, it's bad. Like there should be barriers. This is not good. I am back with the literal definition of a first world problem. Okay. I can't believe I suggested a game that has 2 fat characters out of at least 30 NPCs have more fat characters, and I was met in the feedback Discord channel with, well, they're hipsters and it's an island. They obviously eat well and exercise, so there would be no fat people. They even have yoga classes. Give an inch and they take a mile. There's no capitalism, which is a major contributor to obesity. Having fat characters just doesn't make sense. Trust me, adding something just to add something won't turn out as good as you think. One, there are obviously fat people who live on islands, who eat well, who exercise, who do effing yoga, who are hipsters. Two, asking for more than 2 out of 30 characters to be fat is not asking for a lot. I am no way taking a mile here. I'm actually being pretty effing reasonable. Are you? Are you? Are you being pretty effing reasonable right now, crazy person? Considering that about a third of the world's population is fat. Fat people have always existed. Da, da, da. Crazy. Crazy. It's a video game. I don't know what to say to that. That's wild. Like, and then they like this swearing too. Like people, you never know this. Like, I'm being reasonable, yet you're typing all this out and swearing. Like, when you type, like this is the thing too. When people type swears and like hit the send button, like, you know, they're not being reasonable. It's one thing for like a swear to slip out of someone's mouth when they're talking naturally, but when you like sit and type and then send it, like, you're not being reasonable. Like, you are literally like ranting. Hey, baby. What, do I have your ball? Do I have your ball? Oh no, do I have your ball? I do. I got your ball. Oh, what's your ball doing down here? 1 second, y'all. I got your ball. What did you want the ball? Where'd it go? Where should I throw the ball? Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, couple more. This is addictive. I just is a sentence because it's 2013 apparently. My doctor, who is my only option, left my city and covered by my insurance as a poor little guy, is a fat-phobic S-head. He has decided that because he's extending his working range to a BMI of 40, that he's not gatekeeping care. But every medical professional I've talked to since, my PCP, my gynecologist, my nutritionist, are all in agreement that I'm in good health. That BMI is an inaccurate determination of health. And speaking, if 40, I need a moment. 40, a BMI of 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. Do you know how big a BMI of 40 is, people? That's huge. A BMI of 40 is very bad. Very bad. If your BMI he goes up to 40, that's quite fat. It's quite fat. That is quite fat. That is very fat. I don't know if people know their BMIs. I recommend figuring out. You know, there were many years where I ignored it, but I keep track of it now and highly recommend it. Keep track of your BMI because it's important. And BMI isn't, you know, what's even better is to look at your weight to height ratio. Or waist to height ratio. That's what, not weight. Waist to height ratio is a good determiner as well. So get that figured out. Because if your BMI is 40, I guarantee your waist to height ratio is very big. It's likely to be close to being equal. You don't want your waist to be as wide as you are high. The nutritionist, my gynecologist, my PCP. And it's like, you're in good health now, but what do we know about health? It's a ticking time bomb. The smoker today does not have cancer, but one day they will. Yeah, and maybe they won't get it. Maybe they'll die of something else. But you know what? The time bomb is ticking. You can't. Okay. Oh, and this person is a surgeon. I'm assuming this is a trans person as well, just looking at this. And speaking with my nutritionist that I picked up at my top surgeon's, insistence, double mastectomy surgeon agreed that I only had small modifications to make to my eating habits, and that mostly included drinking more water. Not to mention, I work at a school with young kids and spend every day on my feet, moving around on the floor, and I'm not inactive or anything. And this isn't to say people who don't deserve care. I don't care how clinically healthy you are. You deserve to receive gender-affirming care, period. All health care, period. I got off a weight loss drug several months ago that I lost 35 pounds on, but I got off it because it made me feel like and I want to die. My PCP has been really proud of me since I've lost the weight. Okay, like, I don't know what kind of doctor this is. Like, my only option left in my city. Like, I don't know what service this person is looking for exactly, because it sounds like they've already had their top surgery. You got their little titties removed, and they work with kids. God, I hate the thought of like these fatties. These fat, gender-confused people working with kids. It's awful. Pretty sure the nutritionist said drink water before eating because they're mixing up hunger cues with thirst. Yeah, likely. You know, a lot of people don't want to tell the truth. Is being fat a choice? Oh, I've seen that. I hate when people get mad when parents like, God, who writes these sentences? They're terrible. Buy snack foods so their children can eat little snacks and go, you should really go organic instead of all this disgusting fat people food. I only eat organic, real healthy food and always have, and so will my children. You're insane. There's no way in hell your exhausted parents didn't chuck Oreos at you to keep you at bay during your constant growth spurts, or decided to give you a Capri Sun at some point. And your child is definitely going to is definitely doing some black market S word to get Chips Ahoy at lunch. You know, there are other snacks than Oreos. I have to say, like, there were many snacks provided in my home that were not processed foods. Carrots, apples, peanut butter, bananas. You know, not all snacks have to be highly processed foods. It's very strange to me. Like, I think kids should get treats, you know, on certain special occasions, but like, I'd be wary about giving them this stuff regularly. And I definitely wouldn't look down at people who were trying to not give their kids these foods. I really dislike the term overweight. Over what weight? Over the weight that the oppressive paradigm of diet culture deems acceptable, or perhaps over the weight that socially constructed beauty and thin ideals have dictated. I'm confused. You are confused. Okay, this sounds good. I don't know who needs to hear this, but the idea that quote unquote obesity is caused by more calories in than calories expended is out of date and false. Otherwise, restrictive diets would be wildly successful and not an exploitative multi-million dollar industry. The last time I dieted, 2006, I restricted calories down to sub 1200 for months. I lost 3 pounds. It was then I decided it was diet culture and not me that was wrong. Calories in versus calories out is BS. You know, it could have been that maybe, just maybe, you didn't need 1200 calories. It could have been that maybe you needed more like 1,000 calories. But I don't believe these people, honestly. Like, I did that for 3 months. I don't believe you. I just don't. Like, I really don't. What were you eating? For real? Like, what were you really eating? Was the food you were eating healthy? I mean, once you like kick the addiction to these foods, like, I don't know. People will again, these people, they say things and then they have this little online echo chamber that reinforces their very, very messed up beliefs about food. Like, you know, and they lie to each other. They lie to each other. Like, this one person was like, I dieted in 2006 and I didn't lose any, I only lost 3 pounds. So I gave up dieting forever. Diet culture is the problem. But again, dieting is not what you need to do. You need to develop a healthy relationship with food. Because, you know, and a healthy relationship with food means letting your addiction to certain foods go. Like, stop letting them rule you, because that's what is happening with most of these people. Like, they're so addicted to the highly processed foods, and they're so frightened of what will happen if they let the foods go, that they're unable to in any way be real about it. You know, I just don't believe it. Like, I just don't believe it. Like, 1,200 calories every day for 3 months and you only lost 3 pounds. Maybe you have some other problems. Like, nobody in a medical study is able to maintain their weight when properly monitored. What do you mean? Do you mean like a diet study where people go on different diets and they're actually monitored about what they eat? That person is associating when eating. I think that's highly likely. A lot of the times too, people are, you know, if they were tracking their calories, they weren't doing it right. I don't track calories though. Like, I don't do any of that. Like, my process is just to eat within a certain time frame. So I eat between 7 and 4. Today I went past 4. I ate at like 5 something today because I didn't have much to eat today and I was feeling pretty peckish. So I'll probably push I won't eat tomorrow until like after 8. And that's how I'll make up for it. But like, generally I have, the standards that I have. I keep those standards and boundaries. And, when I have been in times of like, you know, intentional weight loss, specifically, you know, I just cut out processed foods. You know, I only eat foods that are nutrient dense. Like, I only put in my mouth foods that are going to have like fuel. They're just going to be fuel foods. They're not going to be empty calories. And that's how everyone should approach it. But it's easier said than done for most folks. And that addiction it's like I said, I mean, people are possessed a lot of the times by a spirit of gluttony, and they're not aware, and they're not willing to be real about it with themselves or anybody else. And unfortunately, they're able to find communities online with people who are similarly afflicted. I'm going to turn the light on here. People who are similarly afflicted. Oof, bright, huh? Folks who are similarly afflicted, and they reinforce one another. One person says something that's totally wrong, total like nonsense, and then one other person's like, yeah, you know what? I tried to diet and it didn't work too. And so this person who's lying, you know, is reinforced by another person who's lying, who's in total denial and thinks that everybody else is going to buy it. And it's just, that's not how things work. You know, matter can't come from nothing. It's if you have a excess amount of fat on your body, it's there because it got put there. And I think, you know, some people like need that. They need that level of monitoring. When they monitor calories in a closed facility, they lose weight quite rapidly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some people need to go to a camp or something to get it done. Like, a lot of the people they don't want to admit that they binge as well. They don't want to admit that they binge eat or that they overeat, you know, or when they're counting their calories, like they'll put in the wrong measurements, you know, instead of 1 cup of rice, you know, they'll put in 1 cup when they had 2, because they don't know how to like look at food and actually, you know, gauge it. And, you know, they're so used to overeating anyway. Like, when there was that closed off dome research project, everyone lost weight when they didn't grow as much food as was planned. Well, I wonder how that could be. Because clearly it's not about calories in versus calories out. Clearly, that's not the case. Even though, like, we have thousands of years of medical research backing this up, right? Thousands of years. Like, the ancients, scientists and doctors knew about this phenomena. And yet we're still in denial. We still have people today who are in denial about it. And they're going to remain in denial about it. And it's unfortunate because, like, they're harming themselves, and they are, making themselves a disproportionate burden to others. Like that woman I mentioned today, the 600-pound woman getting in and out of the car, like, she couldn't get up, and she was considering like whether or not she was going to call the fire department. Like, that's horrendous, you know? And that's where this kind of like coddling and just denial leads. Because if people don't get checked And some people are totally consumed by the like demon of gluttony. Like it will, it's hell bent on destroying them, and it's wreaking, havoc in their life. And, obviously people got super morbidly obese before the internet existed. But like, I do feel that this kind of like outright denial being reinforced is putting a lot more people on a trajectory to get way fatter than they ever would on their own. Way fatter, because like they're just having it reinforced that there's nothing wrong, and there is something wrong, something very wrong. Well, anyway, I've been on long enough. I had fun looking at this Reddit page today. I don't generally go on Reddit, but wow, quite an interesting page, FatLogic. I'm glad that so many people are also like looking at this like, what the heck? Because it's what the heck. It's a big WTF, mate, in our culture today. So, all right, I'm gonna head off, but thank you for being here, watching. Mountain Esoteric, like the topic. Yeah, we all need to be deprogrammed. This stuff is crazy. We're living in a crazy world. I mean, they did the clown meme about somebody who was sane, who liked to work out and not eat junk food. I mean, come on. But anyway, thank you all for being here with me, and I'll be back another time. Have a good night or day wherever you are.